All right, what's up, Virgo? Virgo, welcome to your reading. This is for the Virgo Collective, so if you can watch it for your sun rising Venus as well as Mars, or any other strong placements you may have in the sign of Virgo. Let's jump right into it. Let's see what's the vibe check for my Virgo Collective. Really gonna try and keep this one short because the Cancer and Leo ones were really long. Although it's not really up to me necessarily all the time, so but let's hope so. All right. So Pisces Sun wants to come through. Sextile. All right, it's amazing. It's awesome. And let's give me to do one more. All right. Okay. Interesting. 2 came out. It's so weird. I was actually feeling this energy, and then it actually comes out. I wish I said it beforehand, but it's all right. Yeah. Yeah, I love this. I love this. Again, kind of similar to Leo. You're pulling in not necessarily your sun vibration, but you're pulling in your house. The 6th house is the house that is connected to Virgo. That's the house of service and health. And with Aquarius here, it makes sense because Aquarius is all about being of service, especially being of service to communities and being of service to humanity, being of service to others, right? So there's something about you being in service to others, or you being in that alignment of being in service to others is being strongly emphasized here. Yeah. The sextile vibration is also quite a strong one. It's a major aspect. And the sextile, for me, I love it because it means that the planets are usually in favor of you, or that the planets are aligning for you for something to work out, right? And so this also may be in relation to the work that you do. If you do work for others, or you are a service provider, or do work that is some kind of service to others, because we have Aquarius, which is community. So the work you do seems to be for the benefit of others and not necessarily for yourself. So I really do see that as a really good thing. I don't see anything here that indicates anything negative. Because it's being sextiled. And you're a Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So Virgo is also like very smart. You guys are really smart, and also really hardworking. You guys are ruled by Mercury. And Mercury, it's kind of funny because Mercury also rules over Gemini and is typically associated with the air signs. So you're somebody like, for an earth sign, you're actually very intelligent, and Virgos are actually very intelligent. But I think that that's something that gets undermined a lot. People may perceive Virgos to be slower or slow, or because they are essentially an earth vibration, and also in addition to just being an earth vibration, they're also a mutable sign. So it's like a watered down earth sign. Like, it's not like when you think of Capricorn is cardinal, so they're very forward in their persuasion, because they've got that cardinal leader kind of like vibration about them. Whereas Virgos are very, I almost want to say, like, if I should use like analogy of that, I would say like like Capricorn would be like the rock or the stone, and then Taurus would be like no, actually, let's say that actually Taurus would be the rock or the brick or the stone, because they're so fixed and immovable, and then Capricorn would be the sand or the sand dunes, right? So it is still sand, it is still very heavy, but it is movable, right? It has a certain flexibility to it, whereas a stone is very rigid, it's very solid, and that for me represents like Taurus. And the sand, even though it's still quite heavy, its texture is still somewhat permeable or soft or moldable, or you can maneuver it. And then Virgos, I see it as the dust. So although it comes of the material of sand, dust is very light still. It can fly, or it can be lifted up if there's like a strong wind. The Virgo can be, the dust can be lifted, even though it is of the same texture as sand and technically is heavy. It can be lifted, right? So the Virgos have this sort of intellect about them, or high thinking mind, that's very usually underestimated by people. Just by the mere fact that they're an earth sign, but they're a different kind of earth sign because they're governed by Mercury. So I say all that to say that there is an intellect about you that is very Aquarian like in your thinking. I think you are somebody who's very, very futuristic, very future forward kind of thinking in your mental processes, and especially in terms of also how you provide your services. Also somebody who is very selfless, and you do things really for the greater good of others and for the greater good of your community or your environment. Even let's just extend it to the environment as well, is what I'm getting here. And I feel like for that reason, you could be somebody who is just blessed, or God favors that, or the universe is proud of that. And so you're kind of like, your energy is sort of sextiled. You know, it is being supported, or it is being uplifted, or it is being amped up or enhanced in some kind of way. And also this may be also your health. Maybe you may have good health, or your health is under control, right? Because wherever we have a sextile, that's a very positive vibration. So health may be looking also very good for some of you Virgos out there. Yeah. Why is Pisces here? Pisces Sun. Yeah, I think what I'm getting here is like very kind. I think you're a very kind soul, a very kind spirit. a very perceptive spirit as well. But I just want to say, for the most part, just a very kind, sweet, just a sweetheart, just a sweet, sweet person is how people also see you. Like easy to get along with, maybe also sometimes too easy to get along with, too nice, too accommodating, just too sweet, too nice, too just open, right? Just too open. Again, going with the analogy of, okay, now this is the part where you want to be a little bit careful, because Pisces is actually, I see now where they were trying to take me, because Pisces is definitely very open. And this is because Pisces is also a mutable sign. Like in the same way that I was using the analogy of the stone and the sand and the dust, right? Pisces is kind of similar to this in the way that like you would look at fixed Scorpio as that frozen iceberg that has the potential to wreak havoc as it did on, the Titanic. That iceberg is that Scorpio fixation. But then you've got those, scorching waves, of the ocean, and that could be the cardinality of Cancer, that the water as it moves, right? But then when you heat up steam or like you boil water, that mist, that steam is very Pisces-like, right? Because it's that light, mutable vibration that is of water, just like the same way that dust is of sand, mist, steam is of water. But it is so light that it's able to, like a vapor, like to evaporate, like to rise up, right? And so that speaks to the natures of Pisces. Also, Pisces are without boundaries, especially if they're uninvolved. They may be without boundaries. They may be too exposed, too open, too kind. So when you think of like mist cannot be contained, right? It's difficult to contain it. Like it's gonna try and seep through little cracks and holes and stuff. And water too can do that. But ice especially can easily be contained by the nature of it being frozen. It is self-contained, right? For as long as those conditions stay ideal for it to be frozen. But steam is sometimes very difficult to control or to contain or to put boundaries to it, because it is so light and thin that it can, it permeates through surfaces, or it can quite easily. And also in that same token, Piscean people who are not very well evolved could also be very open. So they could be people who are very nice, too kind, too giving, too accommodating, too sweet, to a point where it oversteps your own personal boundaries, or it jeopardizes your own mental well-being, or you can become too overworked, or too overwhelmed, or too burdened with responsibilities that then affects your health or the way that you present yourself to the world in terms of your service to the world. So if you are somebody who is too open and you do not exercise healthy boundaries, you may be then too exhausted, and you present yourself or your service to the world in a manner that is too poor or not as impactful, right? So your reminder here, Virgo, is you're doing a great job in being of service because I feel like Virgos thrive in being of service to others. And that's why the sixth house is represented by you guys, by Virgos, because I feel like this is part of your calling, right? And this service may be service in health, or service in education, or service in other ways, how you're gifted or what your calling may be, right? And I feel like you do that so well, especially now in the age of Aquarius, and also in the way that you just present it in terms of how you present your services in such an innovative way. So those things you do beautifully, and I think that's being sextiled. There's an element of intuition that you possess, or perception that you possess, but I think for the most part, what they really were trying to bring home is that sometimes you may be too open, or too kind, or too nice, or not have enough strict boundaries, that you may be then too accommodating to a point where your energy gets depleted, and that affects the way that you show up in terms of your purpose in the world, and also maybe also could be affecting your health either mentally, spiritually, or physically. All right? Yeah. So you want to be mindful of that as you journey through your life. It's important to say no sometimes. It's important to take breaks. It's important to have healthy boundaries. It's important to did I say to say no? Yeah, to say no sometimes. Just so that you also have time for yourself to recuperate and to remain sane and healthy, and just just be aware and considerate of your own responsibilities to yourself. Right? I hope that makes sense. So those are the two meanings. Another third interpretation that they're bringing forward also is your creativity. You may be also very, very creative, especially Pisces is governed by Neptune. Neptune is the house of dreams and visions and creativity. So this is also something that your creativity comes through for you when you perform your works, right? So you may, creativity doesn't always mean that you can perform or that you have like an artistic ability, that you can draw or paint. Sometimes also creativity may be in the way that you resolve a problem, right? You may resolve an issue in such a creative way, especially combined with Aquarius. You may resolve an issue in such a creative way that is understandable to the masses or to the community or to the organization that you represent or that you work for, right? And so people may seek you out for that, right? Where somebody else may have a whole paragraph of what needs to be done, you're able to take that paragraph and sort of, all right, bullet points. All right, so basically in this 3-paragraph long page, basically what you were trying to say is A, B, C, and D, right? So it's like you have a creative way of resolving conflict or resolving issues as well that is being highlighted here. All right, so we're gonna try to start wrapping this up, and I just want to pull from the tarot and see how they'd like to close this. Okay. All right, so we've got the Three of Wands. Three of Wands. Yeah. Of course, that makes sense. Yeah, sometimes I take little pauses just to try and see like what are they trying to connect? Like how is this message trying to connect? And then they show me. So this speaks to several points that were mentioned earlier. First of all, that you are supported, you are sextiled. So as I was saying earlier, your blessings are coming. God, or I prefer God, but you can say the universe, is blessing you, or your ships or your blessings are coming. That's what the Three of Wands, that's what it represents. It represents your blessings coming, your prayers being answered, what you've desired sort of coming true or coming into manifestation, right? This is what the Three of Wands represents. And so this makes sense because your earlier energy was a sextile energy from this other deck, meaning that God, your guides, your angels, the universe is also aligning things for you so that it works out in your greater good, whether that's through your health or through the services that you provide or whatever your calling may be. That's the first message, right? So this is only confirming what we had already spoken about. And the other thing that they also want to highlight here is the position that you are taking. When you pay attention to this person, they're standing at what seemingly seems to be at the top of a cliff or top of a mountain, and they're looking over, a body of water, right? And they're looking so much more further out there, and it shows that you are revered and respected in your community because you have achieved a level of status or a level or position or certain kind of position that has elevated you from the rest, right? That's one. Also, the revering and the respect and the appreciation that you receive is also because of your visionary ways of doing things, of resolving things, of being able to see the bigger picture, right? This Aquarian Pisces energy that they were talking about, that you are from this position, you're able to see, you have, the vantage point, your perspective, you're able to see much further, so therefore you are able to see the bigger picture more than what other people are able to. So while other people are down here scrambling for a solution, you're always able to see the bigger picture, and therefore you're able to size things down to, like, okay, so this is what you're trying to say, or this is what you're trying to do, or this is what you're trying to, So again, this is where the appreciation or reference is coming through in terms of the combination of Pisces and Aquarius, right? That's the second meaning they're showing me here for you, Virgo, right? The other thing, one side note is also some of you could be travelers, or you may be traveling. So that's also one thing to take into consideration. You may be traveling by water in the coming time to somewhere, because of the water and the boats and the ships. Maybe it doesn't really show or translate so well in this. No, can you see like the little boats over there? So some of you could be going on a cruise or traveling by water to some destination. That's a side note. Now back to the third point that they were also highlighting here about exercising healthy boundaries and ensuring that you have space and you have room for yourself, so that you are not depleted of your energy and your resources, is also being supported by this card. Because what the Three of Wands also represent is the Three of Wands, it comes after the Two of Wands. So for those of you who are familiar with the tarot, the Two of Wands is a representation of this same character standing between two wands, and he's holding the globe in his or her hand, and making a wish to the universe, or making a wish or a prayer to God for something to come true, or for a blessing to come through. And then what follows that is the Three of Wands, which indicates that that prayer has been answered, that those ships are coming, that delivery is coming, that thing that you were manifesting, that you were praying for, is coming through. But the question to you though is, do you have the room for it? Do you have space for it? Have you created a space for that thing to have residency in your life that you have asked for, right? So if you've asked for a relationship, if you've asked for a promotion, if you've asked for a better job, if you've asked for better health, if you've asked to be in better alignment with your purpose, if you've asked all of those things, or one of those things, or whatever it is, have you created space in your life for that thing to make manifest and have residency in your life, right? Because this man here has called upon the ships, and now the ships have arrived, but is there enough space for those ships to dock somewhere and bring the deliveries or bring the goods, right? And so this is connecting to this thing that they were saying here, that it's important to have boundaries. It's important to say no when you're exhausted, so that you are not depleting yourself of your resources and your energy, so that you can, when more is to come, your health is in check. When more is to come, you are empowered, and you are in a space where when those things come in, you are in a position to receive them. All right? So this is what I have for you here, Virgo. It made a lot of sense to me just as a reader, piecing together the little bits of information my guides were showing me. But if this is your story, of course, it would make more sense for you. It would resonate to you in a way that only makes sense for you. So I hope that this was helpful for you in your journey. And thank you so much for your support. And I wish you all the best. And we'll see you in the next one. All right? Take care.